Muses of Mythology is a spoiler-heavy podcast.
That's an understatement.
We're going to discuss not just the events of this book, but the Ridenverse as a whole, and really anything that we feel is relevant. You can find full spoiler warnings in the show notes. But DJ, would you like to do a reading? Would you like to bring
Honestly,
up...
right now.
Okay, well that's not actually the answer.
Okay.
No, I'm going to need you to take that again. I'm going to need you to take that from the top one more time. Welcome to Muses of Mythology, a podcast where we explore how ancient myths become modern pop culture. This week, we continue our journey through Rick Riordan's Percy Jackson and the Olympians with Story 42, Empusa. I'm your co-host and podcasting muse, Darien Smart. Joining me is my co-host and brother, DJ.
How's everybody doing? I'm the muse of bloodletting. Not a safe practice. I wouldn't recommend it. But it's got some benefits at times. You know, if you got like ghosts in your blood, you got to get it out.
Ghosts in the blood. Yes. That is... Hey, let's go to the theater real quick.
Okay.
Hey, y'all. Just Darien. I wanted to tell you real quick about a new podcast I'm working on. Yes, another one. It is a Kim Possible rewatch and analysis podcast that I have begun doing with Robert Gamer of the Damn Meme page and Entering Storybook fame. Basically, we're both huge Kim Possible fans and noticed a shocking lack of Kim Possible podcasts for us to consume, so we made our own. It's called That's the Sitch. It'll be available on all podcatchers shortly, but at this moment, you can listen to it right now on Spotify. If you grew up watching Kim Possible and never really stopped obsessing about her, come hang out with us basic average podcasters as we analyze this amazing show and reveal that maybe it continues to impact us in ways we didn't really realize. That's the Sitch on That's the Sitch Pod. And now, back to the show. All right, DJ, here we are. Time to properly dive into some mythology.
Absolutely. What are we talking about today?
Today, we are talking about the Empusa. DJ, what is that?
Well, in the books, they compare them to vampires. And yeah, I mean, generally, like the way that they are depicted in the book, it's more vampire-esque, but also succubus-esque. But this is a young adults novel.
So cheerleaders is what we get.
Cheerleaders is what we get. And he couldn't dive into the succubus form of it more than the vampire form of it.
Yeah, you kind of spoiled the conclusion of the episode there, DJ. Thanks.
Did I?
Thanks for jumping to the end. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. Don't be like this.
Don't be like this.
No, okay, so yeah, basically, DJ, do you remember anything specifically about the Empusa in the Percy Jackson books?
They had one goat leg and one metal leg. They had scary, sharp teeth. Their main victims were men.
Usually,
because,
yes.
I mean, yeah. They could kind of like mind control men into getting...
That's a seduction
trapped
thing.
by them, and that's kind of it. I mean, that's all that I remember about the book.
Yeah, to be honest, these... Outside of Battle of the Labyrinth, we don't really interact with this kind of creature. And even in Battle of the Labyrinth, they don't really make, I personally feel, that big of an impact.
Could have been any other monster.
Could have been any other monster. Honestly, the Lystrogonians from Sea of Monsters, I feel like, does more than... They literally serve the same purpose. They are the creatures that come and fuck up Percy's ability to function in school.
Yeah. But I mean, that's what like happens when you've been going for these kinds of things with his books. It just kind of falls into place like that.
Yeah, I'm not criticizing as thing bad. More just thing exists and the reprise isn't quite as strong as the first act, I feel. So
Yeah.
So yeah, as mentioned earlier, the Empusa we were first introduced to have disguised themselves as cheerleaders at the school Percy is going to try to go attend for his high school years. So he shows up in June for freshman orientation. Someone from New York tell me if that's a standard practice there, because I definitely didn't have freshman orientation.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't a standard practice. Even in the book, it recognizes it wasn't standard. It's just that place. It's like, we're good, so we like to be ahead or some shit like that, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, basically. So Percy shows up to orientation, and who does he meet but Rachel Elizabeth Dare?
Of course. Why the fuck
Why
not?
the fuck not? So as he tries to dodge and get away from her, Rachel's not having that because she's got questions, and the fates have decreed that they will interact.
Yep.
Rachel sees these cheerleaders, and because she can see through the mist, sees them through their cheerleader human disguise, and is like, oh my gosh. They run to the band room. Now they're alone, and the cheerleaders corner them. What are their names? Tammy and Kelly, both spelled with an I at the end of it.
Wow.
Tammy and Kelly, the cheerleaders, start dazzling Percy. They're distracting him. He can't think straight. And then all of it, fortunately with Rachel like calling out and warning him, he's able to draw a riptide and get his wits about him.
Yeah.
They start to attack. Then she began to change. The color drained out of her face and arms. Her skin turned white as chalk, her eyes completely red. Her teeth grew into fangs. A vampire, I stammered. Then I noticed her legs. Below the cheerleader skirt, her left leg was brown and shaggy with a donkey's hoof. Her right leg was shaped like a human leg, but it was made of bronze. The vampire with... Don't mention the legs, Tammy snapped. It's rude to make fun.
You got goofy leg, haha.
Got a weird leg. So then Kelly laughs. A vampire, you say? That silly legend was based on us, you fool. We're the Empusa, servants of Hecate. Tammy edged closer to me. Dark magic formed us from animal, bronze, and ghost. We exist to feed on the blood of young men. Now come, give me that kiss. She bared her fangs. I was so paralyzed I couldn't move, but Rachel threw a snare drum at the Empusa's head.
Let's go, Rachel.
Yay, Rachel!
Just throwing shit constantly.
Constantly throwing shit. Love to see it.
Honestly.
Percy is able to take out Tammy, but when the rest of the school shows up, Kelly erupts into flames just as Percy is like swinging the sword at her. Just before the celestial bronze hit her, Kelly exploded into flames like a Molotov cocktail. Waves of fire splashed over everything. I'd never seen a monster do that before, but I didn't have time to wonder about it. I backed into the band room as flames engulfed the doorway. Paul Blofeld is there, and he's like, what the shit, Percy? And then they bounce. We quickly find out later that the Empusa used basically smoke bomb and just dipped.
I mean, what else are you to do in that situation?
No, I totally respect the move. It's fascinating. I don't think a lot of monsters have this ability to... it is interesting, because what did she do exactly?
Yeah, because that ability actually never comes up again, and if I think about it.
Yeah, it's... She clearly was trying to, like, mess with Percy and get away. She didn't just run away. And was the fire did she teleport? Was the fire necessary, or was it just like a destructive distraction? Was the fire just a distraction and we just don't see her sneaking away?
I mean, she had to have like actually turned into the fire because Riptide goes right through it.
Interesting.
Right?
You think she turned into the fire? Okay.
Yeah.
And so she just is the fire until the fire dies out?
Also, like, as he was running away, you could hear her laughing from the fire.
True. Okay, I gotta Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, he hears her laughing, and then she turns up later. We see her in, like, dream sequences with Luke, and that's creepy. Just put that away. We don't have to interrogate that further.
A little strange.
I believe she appears again in the Heroes of Olympus series and House of Hades in Tartarus specifically.
Yeah, she does, because I remember her having issues with, or like saying that she's got a bone to pick with a demigod up top.
Yeah, I'm sure lots of monsters have bones to pick with various demigods up top.
A lot of monsters got them.
Get in line, Kelly.
Specifically the two that were in there.
This is true. So, yeah, that is the Empusa. And besides the fire smoke bomb thing, that's really the most interesting thing that they do. And like you said, DJ, we don't ever see them do that again.
Yeah.
So let's get into some mythology. because, boy.
Yeah, tell me about it, because I know nothing about these
Yeah,
things.
I knew I knew nothing, too, before we started this. So let's dive in. It is a little difficult to find what I would call reliable and seemingly accurate information on what the Empusa were in this like classical Greece, right? Or very least like kind of this Hellenistic Greece era, which we usually look to. That's what a lot of these versions of the myths we see in the books come from, right?
Uh-huh.
We get the sense that the Empusa was some sort of scary female supernatural figure.
Classic,
yes. What that entails is difficult to interpret.
Mm-hmm.
I found some things that suggested that at some point in time, the Empusa was some sort of like lesser goddess, like an individual being.
Mm-hmm.
But by late antiquity, the Empusa had very much become like a category of spooky monster. Like they were essentially like phantoms or specters who were associated with other creatures like the Lamii and the Moromolaikia, where they seduced and fed on young men.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to mention this because I found it in a bunch of places,
Okay.
and it took me a while to figure out like where it was coming from. There was one source, or one reoccurring thing that said that the early version of the Empusa was a demigoddess, the daughter of the goddess Hecate and the spirit Moromo.
Okay.
And I'm like, what is Moromo? I don't know this. So I had to do more research. And the Moromo is essentially also just a spooky female ghost boogie woman thing. I don't know. In it said like in Greek folklore, it's like parents will be like, tell their children, if you don't brush your teeth and behave, the Moromo will come and eat you. Now I don't know if this is true.
The Moromo.
Whoa, she's under the bed. Yeah, I would need a Greek listener to tell us if that's like an actual thing.
I have no idea.
But the Moralaixi is one of several names given to like these female phantoms in the life of Apollonius of Tyana, which is old book.
Yeah,
we're not going to get into it. But that root word like lyci is like linguistically associated with the word lichen, which is the word for wolf. So like maybe she had something to do with wolves at some point in time, but I could find no
wolf things.
Yeah, I could find no evidence of this. Just literally all we have is here's this word. What do?
It's got two similar root words in it.
Yep.
So do with that what you will.
So Empusa has one noteworthy story in that she feasted on the blood of young men as they slept.
Mm-hmm.
Classic. One night she spotted a handsome young man sleeping on the road, and she attacked him and did her thing.
It turned out to be Narcissus.
Interesting. No, it did turn out to be Zeus, though. And she had no idea. And when he woke up, you can imagine he was not pleased to find the tables had turned. And he visited his wrath on her, and she was killed.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
So this myth exists in exactly one place I could find.
Yeah.
It's called the book The Greek Myths by a gentleman whose full title is Captain Robert von Ranke Graves.
Oh, what a name.
What a name. This gentleman lived from July 1895, 1895 and passed away in December 1958. Okay. 1985. So he was 90 years old. But he was a British poet, an historical novelist, and critic. And he and his father were both students of mythology, specifically Irish mythology.
Uh-huh.
So at one point in time, this guy just wrote a book about Greek mythology.
It seems like he could have just gone and been like, all right, well, you guys got all these monsters, tell me about them. And people just started making shit up for him.
Potentially. But, okay, here's the thing. It very much seems like this is just him retelling the myths. Just him giving his full-on version of these myths, because it also comes with a bunch of, like, comments and analyses from him. Mm-hmm. And this guy, so he wrote, like, another book called The White Goddess, which it's this idea that, like, the Bronze Age, or this early were, like, a matriarchal societies, and that there was this triple goddess figure who influenced all of religion before being, like, wiped out by patriarchal religions. Mm-hmm. Most, like, scholars and academics very much reject this theory as, like, there is not any evidence to support this idea. But this dude, Graves, was, like, big on this one. Uh-huh. So a lot of his interpretations are influenced by his belief of how these stories and the culture had evolved. Oh, okay. So while in the time he did get a lot of, like, praise for, like, the stories, the myths themselves, the writing, the literature was, like, very well done and very interesting, as, you know, it's a retelling. Most academics and scholars in the field really, like, discredit his, like, interpretation. A Sybil Eam referred to Graves' creative mishandling of the Greek myths. And a Robin Hard called it comprehensive and attractively written, but the interpretive notes are of value only as a guide to the author's personal mythology.
Do you think that there were, like, Greek scholars back in 3000 BC saying that shit about, like, Plato?
Probably, or Homer. Be like, what is this shit? What is this? Yeah, probably. I'm sure that criticizing other people in a scholarly method is just the way you do academia.
Mishandling of our religion.
The creative mishandling of Greek myth is fabulous. Now, Graves did not bother him whatsoever. In a letter he wrote, I am not a Greek scholar or an archaeologist or an anthropologist or a comparative mythologist, but I have a good nose and a sense of touch. And I
feel it in my gut.
Basically. And I think I have connected a lot of mythical patterns which were not connected before. Classical faculties will hate me and I will get a lot of sniffy reviews. I'm very into the phrase sniffy review.
It's a little wild.
All of this is to say, this idea of Empusa as a demigoddess, daughter of Hecate and the spirit Morimo, while I do respect the awesome lesbian vibes that do come from that, probably not accurate to what this being represented in the time of this era of Greece, which we speak.
Yeah.
That said, it is correct to associate with, I mean, she was heavily associated with, or she or they, these creatures, the Empusa, are associated with Hecate. Like, that is something that we just mentioned. Kelly, Tammy, one of them, boast that they are servants
of Hecate.
Servants of Hecate. Yep. Oh, right, because at this point in the book, Hecate has sided with the Titans.
Yeah.
Because she gets no respect.
Yeah, I mean,
and honestly,
we meet her later in House of Hades?
Yes, because Hazel.
Yeah, and she's like, yeah, no, the gods didn't really, like, give us any respect. We didn't have anything going. So it's like, why not? But then she's like, but Gaia's a monster.
Yeah, that's no go. No, I'm not blaming Hecate. I fully support all of the gods who sided with the Titans. Yeah, fair. Luke has no excuse. Luke is bullshit. Yeah. But I do not blame Hecate or Morpheus or any of those lot. They couldn't even have cabins at Camp Half-Blood. Are you kidding me? This system needed to be torn the fuck down.
Yeah. That's why Percy helped remake it.
Well, he did his very best.
Yeah, he did the amount of influence he could.
He did. This is true. So, we can't really, if Graves' whole thing, which I've found in a bunch of different sources, it probably cannot be used as a, here's what the Empusa was. What can?
I don't know.
Okay, I was like,
I don't know. You tell me.
All right, that's what we're doing here. Well, DJ, I'd like to tell you about a play.
Yeah?
I'd like to tell you about a play. It's called The Frogs. Written by the...
Does it got frogs in it?
Well, the frogs, it's more of a metaphor. Not really. I know, I'm sorry.
Whatever, I don't care anymore.
It's not actually called The Frogs. It was called a Greek word that obviously I can't. Frogs. Something like that. So it was written by the ancient Greek playwright Aristophanes. Mm-hmm. and it was performed at the Lania, one of the festivals of Dionysus in Athens, in 405 BC. And we know these details for a fact because it did get first place that year. So, the Frogs tells the story of Dionysus, who is just, really not psyched about the current state of Athenian tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
He's just like, it's no good, it's no good. He's just on Reddit every day talking about how, ever since Disney bought the Greek tragedy, it's just not good anymore.
Yeah.
Basically that. Kind of that. Because he's really just complaining that it's not good. So he goes to the underworld to bring back the playwright Euripides. Now, Euripides was a popular contemporary playwright of the time who had actually passed away the previous year, 406 BC. So Dionysus goes to the underworld with his slave, a guy named Xanthias.
Uh-huh.
I'm assuming it's because it's an X. Xanthias sounds good?
Yeah, probably.
And as they go down, they see, or as they are terrorized by an Empusa.
Mm.
And this is basically our best source of an Empusa. This right here. This right here. I'm not sure if this is the earliest, but this is the most, extensive. Here is a primary source for the Empusa as a thing that existed in Greece at this time and was scary, sexy monster lady, essentially.
Oh, right. Okay.
So, because they're going down, and Xanthias sees on Empusa, and Dionysus is like, shit, what the fuck? But the thing is, it's not actually clear whether or not Xanthias has actually seen an Empusa, or if this scene is supposed to just make Dionysus look like an idiot, if he's just pretending to see one. Because it goes back and forth with Dionysus, trying to figure out, what do we do? What do we do? With, Xanthias just narrating what he sees. And so it's kind of that thing of a play where
it's happening off stage.
It's happening off stage. You see Dionysus and Xanthias, but you don't see an Empusa.
Yeah.
So it's up to the interpretation of, that's what I like about this thing, is, we don't know. But it's up to the interpretation of the director and the actors who would determine whether, what is the comedic? Are they both being scared? Is it supposed to be? Because, Dionysus is kind of a fool throughout this whole play.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of a goof. And it ends with him going to Hades and being like, hey, let's have a contest. I want to bring this guy back. And Hades says, sure. Well, Dionysus has got a theater. Sure, why not? It does end with, instead of bringing Euripides back from the underworld, Dionysus elects to bring an older, a much, much older playwright up. Because the side note from the thing, I've just gone off on a tangent. The point of the play is actually that old is better and the new things, because he was going to be it's so terrible. I'll bring back this new author who was up and coming and super great. Or maybe he wasn't up and coming. He maybe was just an old guy who did a good job. But the actual purpose of the play is to talk about how, things were way better, in the before time.
Things were better, 25 years ago, where life expectancy wasn't that great.
Things are way better, basically the theme of the Frogs is, man, Star Wars was way better before Disney bought the franchise. That is the theme of the Frogs. Bring back George Lucas.
Yeah.
Now, DJ, I'd like to make a request of you.
What's up?
Can we tap in to our theater kid nature? I was gonna say inner theater kid, but I don't think we ever actually buried that.
No.
But just really resurrect our old theater kid lifestyles and do a reading of this Greek play.
I can give it a go.
Okay, I appreciate that. I can live with that. I can give it a go. I will let you pick. Do you want to be Xanthias or do you want to be Dionysus?
I'll be Dionysus.
You want to be Dionysus? Okay.
Yeah.
I hear a noise.
Where? What?
Behind us. There.
Get you behind.
No, it's in front.
Get you in front directly.
And now I see the most ferocious monster.
Oh, what's it like?
Like everything by turns. Now it's a bull. Now it's a mule. Now the loveliest girl.
Oh, where? I'll go and meet her.
It ceased to be a girl. It's a dog now.
It is Empusa.
Well, its face is all ablaze with fire.
Has it a copper leg?
A copper leg? Yes, one. And one of cow dung.
Oh, whither shall I flee?
Whither I?
My priest protect me and we'll sup together.
King Hercules, we're done for.
Oh, forbear, good fellow, call me anything but that.
Well then, Dionysus.
Oh, that's worse again.
I go thy way. Oh, master, come here. Here, come here.
Oh, what's up now?
Take courage, all serene. And like Hegeligus, we now may say, out of the storm there comes a new weather. Empusa's gone.
Swear it.
By Zeus she is.
Swear it again.
By Zeus.
Again.
By Zeus! And scene.
Yay.
So DJ, do you think the year was actually an Empusa?
I have no idea.
You have no idea.
What's to say?
There's a joke in here where he calls him Hercules, and earlier Dionysus was pretending to be Hercules because Hercules got into the underworld before, so he's dressed up as Hercules in these scenes, like sneaking in. So I forgot that was a setup of the joke. Yeah, this play is weird.
That sounds goofy.
It's very goofy. A lot of this won first place. This was peak comedy.
What do you say that the plays back then were like if this one first?
I mean, here's the thing. This translation we were reading, it's not an Emily Wilson translation of Forrest Lee. It does the thing where it makes it sound like it's like Shakespearean to make it sound like old. And I'm like, I wonder if this would have been more fun to read if it'd been like in a more contemporary. Thank you, more contemporary type cadence.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
I had fun. Thank you for doing. Thank you for that.
Of course.
So that's what we know about Empusa. Scary, sexy monster ladies associated with the underworld. Shapeshifters was a big one.
We don't see that as all too much in the books. You don't see the shapeshifting thing, even though that's like kind of a bigger thing that like everybody points to.
Yeah, the shapeshifting thing was a big thing. One bronze leg, one Xanthia says it's of cow dung, but
No.
Did he actually see an Empusa? Probably not. I don't think he did. But yeah, the shapeshifter thing, one could almost argue that that's what they do when they're like pretending to be cheerleaders, but we know they haven't actually shapeshifted into that because Rachel, that's just the mist. But I mean, also erupting into flames isn't really a thing they ever did anyway. So we could say that Rick is definitely taking some liberties. Bad liberties, just liberties.
Yeah.
So part succubus, part demon, part vampire is essentially what the Empusa boils down to. And as you mentioned earlier, DJ, we don't have a lot of the succubus thing.
No.
They are a little bit like, it's like Percy can't think because her smile is so dazzling, and she just smells like so strange and like good and weird. And then there's definitely something Kelly and Luke had something going on at some point in time, but clearly don't need to dwell on that. But largely vampire. One of the Empusa, I don't remember if it was Kelly or Tammy, I think it was Tammy, claim that the vampire legend comes from the Empusa story. Cards on the table, don't think that's true.
No, I don't think that's true.
No, I don't think that's accurate. I think that's something that maybe they tell themselves.
Probably.
To be like, we're so special and cool. Most modern monsters, like modern Western staples of monster, your vampire, your zombie, your wolfman.
Come from like actual people who just did wild shit.
Yeah, right.
They're the vampire, as far as I was aware, came from the Vlad the Impaler.
It was pieces. Yeah. Because he definitely was an influence of the Dracula, specifically Bram Stoker. But there was also like lots of legends about blood-sucking creatures of the night and things like that. Like the Empusa is one of them.
That's a scary thing to just think about.
It's a very scary thing to think about.
Okay, he lives in the night. Mm-hmm. He avoids daylight. Mm-hmm. He sucks our blood. Scary.
I think the last one's the worst.
Yeah.
Lives in the night, avoids daylight. Yeah, it's that seems like just good. Seems like an insomniac with a healthy respect for sun protection.
You know, it's a mixed bag.
It's a mixed bag. So, despite the fact that I'm pretty confident the Empusa are not the direct A to B inspiration for the vampire. DJ, do you want to talk about vampires?
Yeah, let's talk about vampires. Yeah,
I've been talking for a bit. I'm going to give you the mantle. Here's the conch shell. Tell me about vampires.
Vampires are cool. As I said, Vlad the Impaler is a classic. Everybody knows that story. But if you don't, it's this guy named Vlad liked putting people on sticks. And he set up, he was like I don't actually know the whole fucking story, honestly.
But everyone knows his story.
Yeah,
but everyone knows it.
Everyone knows it, but I know the major part of him. Like, he's set up on a hill and set up like a bunch of like these soldiers on pikes, and they were all like dripping down. And he was sitting there while the forces come up, and the sun was rising at the time. And so with the way he had like positioned everything, a bunch of bats also flew behind him as he was drinking some guy's blood as it was dripping from the
It's just
spike.
a power move.
Yeah, and so like a lot of people, got the vampire story from that, or at least named him as like the first vampire or some shit like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's basically a gist of like one of the well-known ones.
Everybody also, I mean, it's just like vampires are so well-known throughout media today. We got What They Do in the Shadows.
Yep.
Twilight. Vampires suck.
You really just did What They Do in the Shadows and Twilight back to back in your examples.
Yeah.
That was your go-to?
Yeah. I was trying to think of Dark Shadows too with Johnny Depp.
Dark Shadows, which was also a soap opera before it
Classic.
was wild times.
But yeah, I mean,
Grandpa from the Munsters.
There you go.
Who's your favorite vampire?
Marceline.
Oh, Marceline, of course.
Easy.
Yes, let me just scroll down my notes. Yeah, Marceline.
Marceline.
When I was still trying to figure out different
Classic.
Empusa. Yep, attractive young woman turns into a fierce monster.
Yeah.
She
Love
regularly
Marceline.
does that.
She's great.
She's great. Love Marceline. There's that one, her first intro song, where they do describe her as a sexy vampire lady.
Let's go.
How she is a scary, sexy vampire lady.
She is.
I mean, she is and deserves your respect.
It's great. Love
Yep. Marceline the Vampire Queen. Big fan. Can she turn into a monster? Because the demon thing or the vampire thing?
I've seen her turn into two different monsters.
Yeah, she can do the bat one and the wolf one.
Yeah, so mix of both.
Mix of both.
Maybe.
Yeah, probably. That's the end of my list of stuff.
That's the end of your list. You stopped making after two.
Well, I got... This episode was very difficult for me to weave a thread through. So I did note that the three witches from the Neil Gaiman novel Stardust, they don't have names in the novel, but in the film, they are called Empusa, Lamia, and Mormo, which I liked. I like that.
That's fun.
Yeah, I like that as a reference. I was like, I just straight up steal that, honestly.
Yeah, there's just a bunch of, vampires are classic. What's your favorite vampire, Darren?
It's Marceline.
Yeah, there you go.
I know. Basic. But she's
great.
Just so great.
She's great. Outside of her vampire, the thing that's
vampire thing.
She's
just a
great.
Good character.
Yeah.
I love Stakes. I love
very strong.
Very strong. I love Simon and Marcy.
I love Obsidian.
I love Obsidian. You know that made me cry.
Yeah, it was
that made me ugly cry. Obsidian was rough. Fuck. That song. Oh no. So Marceline was okay. A cool thing about vampires. I think we can maybe. Okay, I found my thread.
Okay.
So, well, we agree that probably Empusa are not the end all be all for the vampire, as stated above.
No.
Much like vampires, they tend to have a lot of nonsense associated with them depending on who is writing it and what they want to pull from.
Yeah.
Maybe they have a cow dung for a leg. Maybe they exploded to flames. Maybe they're a demigoddess, daughter of Hecate and Morimo.
Right.
It's really up for interpretation, and vampires have a lot of that too. Our Marceline doesn't drink blood. She drinks shades of red.
She drinks shades of red.
Which is so... I find
can drink blood, but
can't.
she gets her nutrients from shades of red.
Do you think that's like a... Do you think that was a Cartoon Network thing where they're like, no blood stuff? And so they're like, fine, she drinks shades of red? Or is that a Adventure Time thing where it's just, isn't that fucking funny?
I feel like that's an Adventure Time thing. Because as much as Cartoon Network's like, but they're also... This was early Cartoon Network. This was 2008 maybe is when she came
yes,
out.
that was early Cartoon Network. Go on.
They allowed for this sexy vampire lady to be in their song.
Wild. How the fuck? How did that not get noted straight out of there? Amazing.
We, later on, we see Finn with, third-degree burns with him and Flame Princess. This is not... They don't shy away from that kind of thing.
The violence is usually something they're more okay with, honestly. That's a good point.
And especially with the fact that it was, Adventure Time. Later on, they definitely could have been like, oh, yeah, she can... suck blood, but they're still even if it was a Cartoon Network thing, eventually it became an Adventure Time thing.
Oh, it's such a good trait of her character. I do think that's the part that made me think about the Empusa being different. Is Marceline drinks shades of red.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think that is the most interesting of any vampire quirk. You can line them all up. Twilight vampires sparkle because they're skin so hard. That's fine. I actually do think that's very interesting.
Yeah.
It's very, like, hyper-feminized and dismissed for toxic reasons as being, like, not respectable, but it's like...
I didn't realize it was because their skin was so hard.
It's because their skin is literally hard as diamond. It reflects sunlight.
I never saw anything on Twilight outside of the first movie.
That's fine. But yeah, that is actually, I would say, a genuinely interesting concept.
Fair.
Not as charming as Drinking Shades of Red, though.
No, Drinking Shades of Red is great.
So good. Here's another thing that vampires have in common with the Empusa that I will give it. Sexy vampire monster lady. Well, I guess let's take it. Just sexy monster lady.
Yeah.
If the lady is a monster, she also has to be sexy.
Yeah.
She can't just be monster. This is not true for all of them.
No.
But, God, if you made a list, more often than not, the scales would tip one way, and that way would be sexy.
Yeah.
It makes me think of... DJ, have you ever read Dracula the book?
No.
Did you see the play?
Nope. I know nothing about the original Dracula, honestly.
Okay.
Not even the movie.
So it's solid. Here's the thing about the original Dracula. It is written as kind of... It's almost you love found footage films.
Yes.
So Dracula is
Big
like
fan.
found footage.
Oh,
because it opens as diary entries and letters between characters and news reports.
Well, that's fun.
And yeah, it's actually, if you don't know this, it's wild. So it opens with Jonathan Harkness. Yes. And this is the sweetest goddamn cinnamon you ever did see. This man, he's just there. He basically works in real estate. He's there just to assess this old spooky property. And he just thinks, wow, the locals are really superstitious and eccentric. He tells them, yes, I'm going to Castle Dracula. And everyone just starts like signing the cross and praying for him. And he's just like, oh, weird, okay.
This is some Twin Peaks shit.
Twin Peaks shit. At one point in time, he's like, oh, my host is such an eccentric rich man. He has strange habits and sleeping. How interesting. At one point in time,
he sleeps in a coffin. Ridiculous.
What a strange foreigner I am. Yes, how goofy. And it's just like, you as the reader are like, Johnny boy, what the fuck? No! And it's not supposed to be funny, it's supposed to be scary, but because we, the reader, know, it's so funny that Jonathan Harkness just seems to be ignoring all of the obvious vampire bullshit. At one point...
Here's the thing, right? Imagine you didn't know what the fuck Dracula was, and this shit just dropped. Like, new book dropped, I'm in.
No, it's great. It's so scary.
This is getting a little spooky. Are these real letters that this guy was sending? Did the author just find this shit? Newspaper clippings from Transylvania. What the fuck?
Okay, so there are no mirrors anywhere in Castle Dracula, obviously. But Jonathan has a little shaving mirror. So at one point in time, he's shaving, and then the Count comes up behind him and surprises him because he doesn't see him in the mirror.
Yeah.
So Johnny cuts himself. And at first Dracula starts to go all vampy, and he reels it back in because he can't eat Jonathan yet.
This man is selling my house. I gotta go.
No, he's a real estate agent. But
this man's about to make me a lot of money. I need him.
He takes the mirror and yeets it out the goddamn window.
Sorry, no mirror.
He does say that it's a thing of vanity. No noble man should have one, basically. And then things start to get spooky. There's the vampire brides. Here's the thing about Dracula. He's got like 3 vampire brides.
And he's got a type.
Yes, he's got a type. And they just live at the castle, and they eat a kid, and it does start to get fucking scary from there. And there's a scene with a boat, because what Dracula wants is he wants to go to London. So he can
become Jack the Ripper.
Wouldn't be surprised. He wants to go to London, where he can like have bigger prey, essentially, like big populated city, way easier to like hunt and stuff. But he needs to have a bunch of properties where he can go hide from the sun. And also he has to sleep in dirt from Transylvania. So he's shipping all of this fucking boxes of Jesus, this fucking...
Why is he gonna sleep in dirt from Transylvania?
That's the rule.
That's a weird tie.
If he doesn't do it, he'll die. It's the dirt where he died. So he has to sleep in this. Okay. So what I'm trying to bring up, sexy lady. Okay. So after Johnny, who then goes missing. Oh my god, is he dead? We don't know. We meet Mina, his fiance. Mina's the best. She is competent. She is got her act together. she's number one best girl.
Nice.
Okay. Her best friend is Lucy, who is truly the sweetest, most pure angel on this earth we do not deserve. Oh my God, Lucy. And everybody wants to marry Lucy. Literally. Local doctor wants to marry Lucy. Cowboy oil baron from America wants to marry Lucy. Only age-appropriate rich suitor wants to marry Lucy. Everybody wants to marry Lucy. She's just so sweet and pure and too good for this world. Now, obviously,
awesome.
Dracula gets to kind of find out about Lucy. And very slowly starts to turn her into a vampire.
Slowly?
Well, it happens slowly over time. He feeds on her blood, and so she starts to get sicker and sicker and sicker. Then he goes to her and starts to feed her his own blood. So then she dies. Also, Van Helsing shows up to help save Lucy because he is acquaintances with one of Lucy's suitors. And he recognizes the vampire. Wow, I'm just telling you about Dracula now.
Yeah.
So he actually is almost able to save Lucy by filling her room with, like, garlic blooms to keep Dracula away, because if it can keep him away and help her recover her health back, she'll be fine. But one of the fucking maids throws out all the garlic because she's like, it smells horrible in here. She throws it out. So then Dracula shows up and gives her the last of the blood, and then Lucy dies. Lucy
comes back as a vampire.
So yes, so exactly that. Lucy comes back as a vampire. Now we're hearing reports of some mysterious blonde woman in the graveyard killing kids. So the suitors have to go deal with the Lucy problem. It's very romantic. So when you find Lucy again, no longer is she so pure, too good for the world. Now she is basically that bride of vamp Dracula, like we saw earlier. Scary, sexy lady. He's like, oh, come, why won't you kiss me, my love? Like all that stuff, which real Lucy would never do.
Yeah.
So that's the component we have. That's the point I'm trying to get at, is that there is that element of when the character becomes a monster, all of a sudden the sex gets turned up to 11. Dracula's not like that. Dracula's turning these women into brides, but, like, he is not, I'm suave, sexy Dracula, come to me, Mina, No, he's just turning them into vampires. But, like, that sexy sex appeal thing, well, apparent in, I will say, yes, we've all read Interview with a Vampire. The not-so homoerotic subtext is there.
Yeah.
But it is a common feature in female monsters, specifically female monsters when there's that intimacy of closeness to death, a la the blood-sucking.
Why are you giving that a look?
It's a podcast and there are two people and we have conversation.
But
I'm wondering what you think about my thesis.
I mean, I'm a guy, so I'm into the sexy monster ladies.
You're in. Oh, hold on. Wait. Hold on. Freeze.
Darien,
Is it?
You've seen my ex.
Okay, wait. I'm gonna tell her you said that right the fuck now.
Go ahead.
I'm going to text her and say, DJ just compared you to a sexy vampire monster.
Do you not think that she'd find
no,
that flattering?
she'd actually be fucking delighted. But she's like goth.
Yeah.
She's like cute goth girl, but I had not ever compared her to vampire monster.
Yeah.
Okay, the blanket say is all men into the sexy vampire thing? I'm not okay. The aesthetic. Listen, I'm not saying I don't also like a sexy vampire lady, but like I don't want her to.
There's nothing wrong with it.
I'm not saying there's wrong with it, but I don't want to die. Why do men put the things that could kill? And I blame all men. All men are to blame for this. Why do they make the thing that wants to kill them sexy? Or is it the inherent villainization of female sexuality?
It could be that, but it's also, I mean, we see it throughout time. It's a thing that we see like fucking everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't even matter what culture you're from.
It's often
just that. So I do think while it could be the villainization of female sexuality, could also be men's desire to die in what he loves.
Well, that's a lot more romantic.
Well, yeah.
Here's what I just thought. The opposite of that. You know how do I want to explain? In horror movies, you take something that is perceived as innocent or common and you corrupt it to be horrifying.
It's becoming a real common trope in a lot of horror.
Yeah. That kind of thing.
nowadays.
So, female sexuality in these things, in like these early stories of where we get the origin of the monsters that become these kind of tropes that we still adopt today.
Mm-hmm.
Female sexuality is not openly discussed or a component of culture as a whole. Essentially, it doesn't exist. And if it does exist, it exists for men to conquer, control, and consume. It doesn't exist for women to have...
Counterpoint. Aphrodite.
Aphrodite, who
could not conquer that bitch.
Aphrodite, whose sexuality comes from the phallus.
Well, I mean,
While
that
her
could
sexuality,
be...
she is the goddess of sexuality, but her power inherently comes from this physical, historically patriarchal symbol of male masculinity and conquer.
Now, it could be that, and that's some stories. Other stories, it's just parts of Uranos.
Say it again?
It's just parts of him.
Say it one more
Parts
time?
of Uranos.
One more time?
Uranos.
Interesting. So...
I said it right, damn it! You can't do that when I say it right.
Interesting. And what was his Roman name?
His Roman name is Uranus.
Yes, it is! Okay. So, my theory is that we have sexy vampire monsters because the notion of a woman flaunting her sexuality and using it to lure and kill is that same notion of corrupting the familiar and the safe.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Is that a bad thing?
I mean, I would... The notion that female sexuality
Is familiar and safe to men?
Dangerous when it is not for men, for their comfort, kind of sucks.
Or again, it could be they're dying in something comfortable.
DJ?
What's up?
DJ?
Darien, I am the straight guy here.
No, I understand that. No, Hey, are you okay?
Yeah. I'm just saying, Darien.
I've seen I've seen our Spotify stats. I know we don't have a lot of cis straight men listening, but Tim O'Connor, I know you're out there. Crystal Conman, I know you're out there. You want to weigh in on this? Anyone else? I think we have to be done. I think we have to be done.
I think this will have to be the end of that.
Okay. Did we do anything else? Is there anything else?
No, Darren, it seems like you're new to this kind of conversation when I have this conversation with my friends on the regular.
No. See, I'm not new to this kind of conversation as a whole. I'm new to this kind of conversation with you as a person.
Yeah, fair.
Okay. Do we just end it? Is this just how episodes end? It's been so long.
I know, it's been a minute. Favorite vampire media?
Oh, that's a good one. Favorite vampire media? I can't pick. Obsidian.
Yeah. Let's take Obsidian, set it to the side.
Okay,
let's just take Adventure Time
we
and set it to the side.
We sent it out of the room.
It's already our favorite because obviously it's just Marceline. It's more of that and it's great.
And it's great. I mean, like all teen girls in the late aughts, early teens. I didn't do Vampire Diaries. I said I did. I was going to say I had a vampire phase.
I listened to like a 2-hour video on the Vampire Diaries.
Was it by Jenny Nicholson?
Yeah.
Yes! So good! I've never seen a single episode.
I'm like, dude, this shit sounded like it was
Can-
popping at peak.
Oh
like,
my
are
God.
you kidding?
Okay, can my answer be Jenny Nicholson's 2-hour video essay on the Vampire Diaries?
I suppose it can, but I feel like that's also cheating a little bit.
Right, because it was your answer. I shouldn't copy off your
Not even
homework.
my answer, but
I'm trying to think. I have consumed an awful lot of vampire stuff. Like I read Twilight, I read House of Night, I read the Hollows series had a lot of vampire stuff in it. I just can't think of any that I would say yes. I guess it's gotta be Interview with a Vampire. That's it. Specifically the Vampire Lestat and Queen of the Damned. Yes, Anne Rice. Those are very good. Also, legitimately Dracula. Like, sorry to be basic bitch, but like, legitimately Dracula.
No, that's super fair. I'd have to go with What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh shit, I forgot about What We Do in the Shadows.
Both the movie and the series, they're both really funny.
I haven't seen the series. I really want to watch it.
The series is like is the American-based one.
Oh, is it American? Oh, I thought it was still New Zealand.
No, it's in like New York. Manhattan
area. Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
And it's what is it? One of the characters from they reference, because it's obviously set in the same show, right? Same era, same time. Just different group of vampires, and they're just all doing their own vampire shenanigans, and you got Nosferatu in the basement.
Nosferatu's in the basement. That's hilarious.
You got beef with the werewolves.
Always got beef with the werewolves. You always got beef with the werewolves.
It's pretty funny. I did do that, but Dark Shadows is also just a classic with Johnny Depp.
That's very
goofy. Really funny.
It's a very goofy movie.
You know, when he's testing out the fucking silverware, like gently tapping, it's like, and then he picks it up, and they're like, "What are you doing?" Like, "Yeah, well, if this was real silver, I'd have burst into flames."
No, it's funny. It's got its moments. I think it's mean that the cheerleaders are Empusa. I think that's very outdated. I get it. It's of the era, but...
Yeah, right. It's still the early 2000s. Cheerleaders are just a hot thing, right?
The cheerleaders would not be the Empusa. That's too obvious. They'd never get away with it. The Empusa would be the weird goth girls.
No, the cheerleader would be the Empusa because it's who draws in the most men.
But like if...
In the modern day,
you wouldn't be able to get away with it.
In the modern day, they would be the goth girls because now that's drawing in the most men.
Okay, I hate this conversation. We're done.
You're the one who tried to continue this.
I was just making I was trying to figure out like high school hierarchy and what would be more interesting. So like cheerleaders just so obvious, but
nobody's gonna expect the fucking sweet cheerleader. They didn't suspect it when it was Percy.
Well, Percy didn't know these women. I'm also realizing right now I am just like ripping off that American Dragon Jake Long episode about the sirens. So. Okay, well, that's it for us. Thank you all so much for listening. What is your favorite vampire media and or favorite ancient Greek play that won first place in its festival to Dionysus?
Fucking wild.
Fucking wild.
Wild that play won it. Well, thank you guys so much for listening.
Yeah. Before we've got to wish a belated happy birthday to Percy Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
We did not wish him a happy birthday on the previous episode that came up before his birthday, so we're going to do it now. We actually did do a whole Happy Birthday Percy episode over on our Patreon, in which DJ and I dissected
and judged the hell out of his friends.
Harshly judged the hell out of Percy's friends, and specifically the gifts they decided to get him for his birthday.
Yep.
If you'd like to hear that, you can check it out at patreon.com/Muses of Mythology, or the link in the show notes. Just $5 a month will get you that episode and literally hundreds of other hours of bonus content that we've been releasing.
Yeah. Been enjoying that a lot. Please go and check it out.
Yeah.
Love to see you there.
Yeah, especially because if we have, we are actually about to hit one of our first like big Patreon goals. Once we hit 10 current patrons, every patron gets a free button.
Everybody gets a free
button. Muses of Mythology button that we will mail to you. We are in the process of purchasing these buttons now. We are going to have merch. If you want first dibs on these kind of merch, you check out the Patreon. That's definitely going to be the place where folks are going to get the first content. But we will be back on Tuesday, September 13th to talk about Hellhounds.
Woo, that'll be fun. I'm getting very excited.
Yeah, keeping up the spooky nonsense. Perfect. It's getting to the season.
I know. It's going to be a good time.
All right. Take care, everybody. And until next time, don't be like Zeus.
Don't be like Zeus.
Muses of Mythology is created and hosted by Darien and DJ Smart. It's edited by Darien Smart. The show is produced by Darien and DJ Smart, as well as
Tim O'Connor.
The Crystal Con Man.
Our music is Athens Festival by Martin Hain. And our cover art is by Audrey Miller. You can find her on Instagram at bombshellnutshellart.
Want more Muses of Mythology? Support the show on Patreon. Just $1 gets you exclusive bonus content. Get more at patreon.com/Muses of Mythology.
You can also support the show by leaving a review at lovethepodcast.com/Muses of Mythology. Or tell a friend why you love the show.
Don't forget to check out all of our episodes and episode transcripts at musesofmythology.com.
Thanks for listening.